Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I'm Adam Weinrib, joined as always by Fansided's MLB insider Robert Murray. Day 2 of the winter meetings, and man, so much got done yesterday. I don't know how we can pack it in to one 25-minute episode, but we'll have to try. Robert, of course, live from Dallas. We're going to be talking on the latest rumors. Those involve Teoscar Hernández, Alex Bregman, Nolan Arenado, Taylor Ward buzzing right now. We'll get to your questions as best we can. Robert will open his notebook, give us what he knows. Robert, what is going on this morning?
Not much, man. It's been a very busy morning. I got up this morning. I was about 75% asleep, and I went down and got some coffee, and I ran into a bunch of people that I knew. So I was talking to people while I was still sleeping, basically. It was very eventful. Just got back from the gym. Here we are now. Hopefully we got more movement going on today. I think we will have some moves. I mean, I don't think anything too crazy from what I've gathered. The winter meetings happen. So, it can always change with one phone call, as I like to say. So we'll see. But I'm ready to talk about the stuff I'm hearing. I got lots in the notebook. Adam Weinrib, how are you doing?
I am good. Again, the comments asking if I'm okay. Obviously, I'm more than okay. I am live on the Baseball Insiders, and we're going to be talking about all we can. We're going to be answering some of your questions. Join us between shows out in the Discord, either at the Rumor Mill tier or the All-Star level, where you get priority responses in this chat. And I know people have a lot of questions they want answered, so subscribe to the channel and join it as well. That's where you get the Discord link. Also, subscribe to the Moonshot. That's Fansided MLB Team's weekly baseball email newsletter. You will see Robert there. You will see me there breaking down all the biggest stories of the big leagues with humor, insight, behind-the-scenes info. But who has time for plugs when you have rumors? And I think we got a super chat asking about the Angels right now from Jonathan Corona. Do we think they want another third baseman or an outfielder? We also have a lot of buzz going on right now about Taylor Ward, who might be traded during this show. So I'll use this as a jumping off point to ask about what you've heard there and then what you've heard about the Angels in general. Thanks to the super chat. Thank you, Jonathan.
No, thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate you. Sorry about that. Evidently still got some going on with the cold. Not great, but as far as the Angels go, they are still open to adding anything and everything besides a catcher at this point. Perry has been very active in trying to supplement different parts of the roster. And if you look at the roster, that makes plenty of sense because they have many holes on that roster overall. They're far from competing. He wants to add another power bat. They have looked at pitching still. They've looked at bullpen help. They've looked at almost everything. And we saw the Mark Feinsand report today that the Angels appear close to moving an outfielder. I cannot confirm that. I know that the Angels have gotten plenty of interest so far this offseason in their outfielders, especially a guy like Taylor Ward. But as of this moment, I cannot confirm that anything is close. I have phone calls out. I have texts out, but I have not heard anything definitive that something is close. So take that for whatever it's worth. But yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Perfect. And thank you for the question. We'll obviously keep everybody posted if we're able to get anything there. Let's move on to a few of the bigger names that do feel like they could come off the board relatively quickly. If not today, maybe by end of week. If not by end of week, pretty shortly thereafter as the groundwork gets laid. Alex Bregman is the first one that comes to mind just because you had Alex Cora outright gushing about him yesterday. Oh, great player, could play second base. The Red Sox seem to be at least somewhat down that road and considering Bregman. Jack Curry keeps throwing cold water on it every time the Yankees are mentioned. So I wonder, is this smoke surrounding fire or is it just some teens vaping? Are the Astros and Red Sox sort of the teams that are going the hardest after Bregman?
Yeah, I think that's fair because all offseason, the Astros have made it abundantly clear that Alex Bregman is their top priority. Like Dana Brown said that definitively at the GM meetings, and that has not changed at all. There's still no deal there whatsoever yet. They've maintained contact with his agent, Scott Boras, but there's been other teams that are involved as well. And seeing Alex Cora openly gush about Bregman, it's not surprising. They have plenty of ties going back to their days together in Houston. And he would be a great fit in Boston. And the Red Sox have made it clear that they want to spend this offseason. They made a competitive bid for Juan Soto, obviously came up empty. But you cannot go out and say to everybody that you're going to go out and spend and not go out and spend on like a star or something. So that that to me, the Red Sox, they should be in on Bregman. They should be in on Max Fried. They should be on Corbin Burns. They should be in on all of these guys. And I did think it was interesting yesterday is I was standing in the lobby and I'm like, oh, that guy looks familiar. It was Theo Epstein. I believe he was walking with Sam Kennedy, and I don't know what exactly they were up to, but Theo is here. Wonder what those conversations are like in Boston, but they remain active in the market even after losing out on Juan Soto. So we'll see. But the Bregman thing, I don't know of anything close there, but I believe that they're in it along with the Astros, and there's other teams in there as well.
Let's pivot to the Astros because we got another super chat from Jacob Zanola. I don't know the name, but I'm sure he's a nice guy. I was going to mention this anyway. Obviously, Kyle Tucker and Framber Valdez were both sort of thrown into the market yesterday. Dana Brown, not shy, asked if they could be available. Well, they might be available. Who knows? We'll explore. While other teams jumped into action there. The Cubs were quickly connected to Tucker this morning. The Yankees as well, although an Astros-Yankees trade, somewhat tough to fathom. The Yankees trading for another rental outfielder, somewhat tough to fathom, but what have you. Either way, Tucker, Cubs, there's a little buzz there. If it's not the Cubs, it does seem like Tucker can be had.
Yeah, like here's where the Astros are at right now with Kyle Tucker. Is they're listening. Like it's what they're doing on all of their players. There's nobody on that roster who's untouchable. I mean, maybe like a Jose Altuve. I can't imagine they trade him because he signed long-term and such an instrumental part of their team. But they're listening on Tucker. There's a lot of interest there, but it's no guarantee that he's moved, and they don't have to move him. If they don't end up re-signing Alex Bregman, they're going to have plenty of money to go out and sign a guy like Kyle Tucker. I can't imagine I've been proven wrong before, but it would be really tough in my eyes for the Astros to be able to retain both Bregman and Kyle Tucker. So if they end up missing, or if they end up re-signing Bregman, then I think there's some more like possible buzz about a potential Tucker trade. As of this point, I think it's unlikely that he's moved. I think the Astros would have to be blown away to do it right now, especially since they want to compete. But the Cubs being interested, all these other teams being interested in Tucker is not surprising whatsoever. It's something that I was asking about even a few weeks ago. And there was no real like buzz at that point yet, but the Astros are indeed listening, but that does not mean a trade is coming because, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, is teams listen on almost every single one of their players. The fact that they're listening is obviously noteworthy, but it's not a definitive sign that he's going anywhere. I just want to make that abundantly clear at this point.
Absolutely. But good to open the doors there. I want to talk Teoscar Hernandez. There was a little bit of swirling nonsense in Yankee world last night. Someone who had a Dominican reporter who had the Soto contract details first said the Yankees and Teoscar were getting closer or they were ready to announce. Obviously, that did not happen. That was not announced last night. But the Hernandez market, as we know it to be at this point, is the Dodgers with a bit of a gap that maybe wasn't there early in the conversations. And the Red Sox, we know those are the two teams after him last offseason. Feels like Boston's back in now. Either way, this feels like one that could go today or tomorrow. So we wanted to get out of the curve. Ooh, that face says it all. But curious your thoughts on Teoscar's market.
Yeah, his market, there's plenty of interest in Teoscar Hernandez for sure, but I don't necessarily think. My feel as of yesterday was that it was not close. It could change for sure, but there was a gap in talks with the Dodgers. I didn't get the sense that anything was close to the Red Sox or any of these other teams. Like there's interest there for sure, but there is a gap. So we'll see there, but I'm not surprised whatsoever that he's getting this interest. But at the end of the day, my guess is the team that ends up going to say 3 years for about 70 to 72 million. I think that's probably the sweet spot for a deal to get done. Maybe even gets 4 years. I don't know, but I think the 3 year for about 23 to 24 million a year, which is above the qualifying offer, is what gets it done. Just there's no team that's quite at that point quite yet, which means he's going to continue lingering on the market, which opens the door for guys like Jurickson Profar, Anthony Santander, and some of these other guys to really cash in and kind of take advantage of Hernandez lingering on the market.
Santander, too, not enough chatter about him. And as we theorized yesterday, maybe lands back in the AL East, maybe lands back with the Toronto Blue Jays. But that's a theory from me. That is not sourced. We're just having conversations. Nolan Arenado, got to be mentioned as well. Katie Wu, I think, made it clearer than it's ever been. I mean, it was already fairly clear he was more than likely on the move. The John Mozeliak comments indicate, hey, it's not like he's demanded a trade, but we got to find this guy a new home. Seems like there is a mysterious limited no trade, because every time he gets connected to the Yankees or the Dodgers, people start to ask, yeah, I wonder if they're on that list. He's got to approve. Who knows? What are you hearing about Nolan Arenado's market? The contract is a little more reasonable than I think people think, but obviously the production has gone down.
Yeah, the production's gone down, and he's a guy who there is interest, but the amount of teams that are in on him is limited because of that no trade, because of the declining production, and for some other various reasons as well. And I mean, he's got the positional versatility where he's willing to play a different position if he's traded, as Katie reported. So I mean, they want to move that salary. They want to have some more flexibility and allow these young guys to play, because they're not calling this a rebuild in St. Louis. They're making sure to call it a reset. They don't like the word rebuild. You say the word rebuild, they're all Cardinals people and they get pissed. So that's not exactly the most fun thing, but as I've said on the previous shows, I'd be surprised if Arenado's a Cardinal next year. And the fact that Mozeliak is so open about that they're trying to move him, that adds some further, like, it makes you even more confident that he's not going to be a Cardinal next year. And I mean, there's teams that I don't think there's a front runner at this point. I think the Dodgers make sense. I mean, just because he saw that he put the Dodgers in his one Instagram post, and he's familiar with that division, but I would imagine there's other teams in there as well, but it's too early to mention a possible favorite at this point, Justin.
Good. But yes, glad we got that follow. I want to, Marshall Brown asking, I want to know what the Yanks are doing. So do I. Can't wait to find out. But that leads right into the next player I wanted to mention, Max Fried, who is someone we know they're interested in. If you're a big fan of productive Zoom calls, then obviously you've been all over the Yankees and Max Fried. They really got to know each other well over digital video. But the Red Sox are poised to get in that market as well. Teoscar could be a Yankees-Red Sox bidding war, but it seems more likely that Fried is a player that those two teams go head-to-head for. So wondering if that market is clarified at all, and that ties into Corbin Burns, who a lot of the people in the comments are asking about as well. Two top names. One seems to be Yankees-Red Sox clash. One perhaps prefers the West Coast.
Yeah, the Max Fried market is interesting to me, and I mean I've heard varying timelines on when a deal could possibly happen here, but I think the teams to look at are the teams on the East Coast here. You look at the Yankees, the Red Sox, maybe the Orioles, who have been hesitant to like part with one of the picks. So I think that could end up like hurting their chances. The Blue Jays as well. So I mean, there's plenty of interest here for sure. He's going to get a 9-figure contract for sure. But when you look at his market, my guess is it may end up coming down to the Yankees and the Red Sox here, unless there's another team that ends up popping in at the last second. But there's widespread interest. I don't think a deal is imminent as of this point, but I know there's teams who are really liking him, and it would not surprise me if we saw some teams make a push here in the next few days here.
Well, the comments think that Theo is putting Brian Cashman's head in a toilet again on this one. I don't remember what the first time he put Brian Cashman's head in a toilet was, but I guess that probably did happen at some point. So.
No, I feel like that him giving Cashman a swirly would end up being breaking news. I feel like we'd see that all over the internet. Hopefully, that would be funny if somebody ended up photoshopping that. That'd be cool.
We're open.
Yeah. Someone in the comments do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we're open to it. We'll take it. If you've got it, we'll take it. Let's open the notebook before we get to a few questions pre-sign off. Again, reminder, we're going to be right back here tomorrow and Thursday, covering anything that happens in the meantime, updating you all and answering further questions if things arise. I didn't know we'd be talking about Kyle Tucker today until late last night, so things change fast. Anything that you're hearing that could be going down relatively quickly. Obviously, we've been through a lot of discussions of things here that are not particularly close. So anything that might be edging closer.
Yeah, there's continued to be movement on the catching market from what I'm told. And I would not be surprised if we had some moves coming in the next 48 to 72 hours there. I do know of some relievers who are getting closer as well. So those markets are both moving as well. There's been some movement on some of the starting pitchers as well. So I mean, we're seeing some progress being had here at the winter meetings. So I would not be. I understand the frustration after day one, but I think today we should see at least some moves. Let's see, the Kyle Tucker buzz, we mentioned that before. There was another thing I wanted to touch on as well, Adam. What the hell was it? I can't remember what it was, but let's answer some questions in the chat, and then I'll try to come back to it. But there was a couple of notes that I wanted to mention here. Oh, yeah. Actually, here's one of them that I wanted to mention. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I get this right. So Michael Conforto's deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers is structured a little bit differently. So he's got obviously a $17 million guarantee, but he's got an $8.5 million signing bonus that can be paid in 2 different increments throughout 2025, and his base salary in 2025 is 8.5 mil. So gives the Dodgers a little bit of extra flexibility there. I thought it was good structuring there by Andrew Friedman in that front office. Among the catchers, though, that I do know have had some movement is Yasmani Grandal. He is a player who's garnering pretty decent interest. James McCann and Tucker Barnhart are also drawing interest as well. And another thing I wanted to mention as well is Willy Adames. Yesterday, I was walking through the lobby, and I had so many different people come up to me and praise him as a player and as a human. I've mentioned that a lot of times on this podcast, but of all the times that I've ever come to the winter meetings and seen a signing or had a signing happen, I have never had the praise for a person that I have with Willy Adames. I think that was a home run signing by the Giants. That is a culture-changing kind of player, and they're going to reap the rewards for it in so many different ways. So good job by Buster Posey getting that deal done.
Yeah, we were all over that before it happened, and we're excited to see how the Giants pivot.
Yeah, and also that signing that was reported about the Mets earlier this morning, that is not the case. That is not true.
Yeah, Loaiza got 3 years, $27 million, which if that were to happen, only Steve Cohen can get that done because that's a perpetually injured player who I'm not sure is going to make $9 million on a 3-year deal from anybody else. But we will keep you posted. Seeing some questions about the Pirates and also Anthony Rizzo to the Pirates, which I know is something that was swirling on Twitter last night too. So any clarity you can provide there?
I asked some folks about that yesterday, and they laughed at me. I don't think they've had a single conversation with Anthony Rizzo. That is categorically 1,000% false. Rizzo is not going to the Pirates, at least as of yet. I don't even think they've had a conversation there. And also, I've continued to see the Bubba Chandler and even Jared Jones trade talk on my Twitter timeline. No, I'll never say never on anything, but that is I'd be flat out stunned if either one of those guys got traded.
Couple more quick hits. Crochet Mets is being asked about. Crochet and the Yankees were connected yesterday as well, joining the Cubs, Reds, Brewers, Big Pack, Red Sox at the periphery. Anything you're hearing there?
Yeah, the interest in Garrett Crochet is widespread. The Mets and Yankees, as Ken Rosenthal reported, are indeed in on this, and they have been 2 of the more aggressive teams. There's other teams that are in this as well. As of last night, it was not close. But my thought is that at some point this offseason that Crochet is going to get traded, and the return that's going to the White Sox will be absolutely massive. They are placing a very high asking price for Crochet, and rightfully so. When you have a player who's making $3 to $4 million bucks, and he's one of the best pitchers as of last year in baseball, I think that's the asking price there is just going to be really high. And to me, the conversations in these front offices have to be really fascinating. Trying to evaluate how exactly you go about this, whether you go out and get a Max Fried or Corbin Burns, or if you shell out some assets for 2 years of Garrett Crochet at a really reasonable asking price. Or a reasonable salary, I should say. So it's going to depend on what fits each team's appetite differently, but there's plenty of teams that are on Crochet. And as I said, I'd be really surprised if he does not get moved.
Seeing Pete Alonso questions too. That ties into Christian Walker. We know the Yankees have started talking to Christian Walker. That just dropped. Thoughts on both players and their potential markets, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, Pete Alonso, the Mets remain interested there. They are one of a few different teams that are on him. I've maintained that I think the Seattle Mariners should be in on both Walker and Alonso here, but I'm still skeptical about their chances of putting together a serious bid, which would be a real disappointment because that team with that pitching staff has a chance to be a real force in the American League. And yet I'm still pretty unconvinced that they're going to be able to do so. And that's a huge disappointment to that fan base and to that roster overall. Because with a good offense, they could be as dangerous as any team in baseball. But Christian Walker, he's going to have widespread interest as well. Yankees make plenty of sense there. I think a reunion with the Diamondbacks also is in play as well. Maybe the Astros, there's plenty of other teams as well who make sense. I'm not reporting that the Astros are interested, but I think that's a team that just makes sense there overall.
Gonna do one more too because we're getting spammed with Corbin Burns Blue Jays connections. I feel like I have to ask there. Any smoke and thoughts on Burns?
I think the Blue Jays, as I said in the last show, the natural pivot for them is going after Corbin Burns, and they could use a frontline starting pitcher. They could absolutely use another bat or two in that lineup. They need a lot of different things. They're not one piece away by any means, but adding a guy like Corbin Burns and putting him atop your rotation for the next 6, 7, 8 years would be a real smart thing. But I did not hear of anything close yesterday there. One thing I do want to say is I've seen all this Giants buzz involving Corbin Burns. I was asking a lot of people about it yesterday. I mean, maybe it's real, but I think their interest is being overplayed. That's my read as of right now. I've been wrong before, but I think the Burns Giants buzz I'm not sure exactly how real that is. Maybe they're interested. I mean, it would make sense, but I don't think they're necessarily serious at this point.
Well, Bill Madden had Burns in the Giants, and then he had Soto for $800 million in the Mets, and I kind of wish he'd gotten both of them wrong. But you know what? We have to move on. We will see everyone back here Wednesday, 12:30 Eastern, for another update live from the winter meetings. 432 of you have joined us right now. That is wild. We are so pumped that everyone's here to talk baseball, talk buzz here on the Baseball Insiders. Subscribe, join us. We'll see you in the Discord if you're not there. We would love to have you. Until tomorrow morning, turn your notifications on. I am Adam Weinrib, joined by Robert Murray. We really appreciate it, and we'll keep giving you scoops when we got them. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. We will see everybody back here tomorrow at the same time.